Welcome to Formosa Dream Chasers
We're your hosts, Mary Ann.
and Ching'en.
Please join us as we explore the journeys amazing people take in pursuit of their dreams.
And get insights from their experiences
Let's hit the road.
and get started.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Last week, we chatted with Ethan on how his love story began. Today, we dive deeper into the challenges he and his husband faced to be together.
On top of the physical distance, were there any cultural differences or language barriers that you encountered? And how did you overcome those challenges?
Not so much about the language apart from him unwilling to learn Mandarin or Taiwanese. But culturally, I don't know, I feel sometimes Taiwanese people are culturally compatible with British people in many ways. For example, I quite like my distance with people, and British people, I think they do the same.
So it sounds things were relatively smooth then.
Yeah, I don't know if it's got something to do with the fact that I actually did my degree in English as well. So I was rather familiar with the Western culture. So I didn't really experience very much culture shocks or arguments, no.
What about food choice? Like they're very limited Asian food. How do you deal with this?
It is very challenging. It's not because I cook my own food all the time for many reasons, mostly because it's a lot cheaper to do it that way. But when I go to the local supermarket, it's just very difficult to get the ingredients. The vegetables they have are always broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, etc. all year round. The same vegetables. It's really difficult for me to get used to the fact that I don't have the same variety of vegetables as in Taiwan. And when we go out for a meal, I don't know, the food can be it's either very bland or very salty. But having said that, I must say I've also been to lots of great restaurants with really, really good food. So I know a lot of the Taiwanese people talk about or joke about British food being really sort of not very tasty. I wouldn't say that because I think it's about knowing where to find the good food.
I'm gonna move back to your family. How did you tell your family that you were gonna get married, and how did they react to the news?
The first person I thought I would mention this to was my dad, because I knew he would support me anyway.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Did your dad know you guys were dating? Or was it after the fact?
I don't think he did. I think for him, he probably was shocked when I said it anyway, but then he sort of acted chill. I just told him I would like to marry this person because I want to be with him. And he never asked the question. He just said, okay, so long as you're happy. I said, what happened? How would you tell my grandparents and your siblings? How are you going to break this to them? Because it can be a bit shocking, especially nobody in the family knew I was gay at the time. And he said, well, he'll handle it. And he asked me not to worry. Later, I realized one of my aunts is very upset about this. She really wasn't keen on the idea that I was going to marry a man that is so much older than me. I remember she said something like, oh, what a shame, the only sort of educated person in the family is not going to have a baby. And then she was sort of really against the idea of me wanting to marry my husband. But my father at the time said to her, well, your daughter got married and divorced without my permission. Why should my son have any permission from you? Have permission from you to get married? And she didn't say anything to that. And I think now it's a bit strange because everybody in the family knows I'm married to this person. But in the Lunar New Year holiday we just had, because in my family the rule is once you're married you don't get any lucky money. But I still got quite a bit from my aunts and my uncles, and I said, oh, I'm married, I shouldn't take any lucky money from you. And my aunt would say, oh, that doesn't count, you can still have the money. So I thought, okay, as long as you give me the money, then fine. I say whatever you want to say, because I know I'm married to this person, so why not? Free money is good.
So it sounds like they accepted it over time.
Yeah, but my grandparents would still sometimes ask me, oh, when are you going to get a girlfriend or a wife? I would just let it go.
Okay, so just to give our listeners some background information, in May 2019, Taiwan became the first country in Asia to legalize same-sex marriage, and Taiwanese nationals were only allowed to marry individuals that are from countries that had also legalized gay marriage. However, this changed last year in January 2023 when Taiwan's Interior Ministry informed local authorities that couples with non-Taiwanese partners from jurisdictions that do not allow same-sex marriage, including Hong Kong and Macau, can now wed in Taiwan.
If I remember correctly, the UK does allow same-sex marriage, does it not?
It does.
So why did you choose to have your wedding ceremony here in Taiwan and not in the UK?
For many, many reasons, but the most important reason for that was it was a lot cheaper to do it here, and he didn't need to get a visa to come here to marry me. But for me to go there to marry him, I need to get a visa. And I think if we did want to do that in the UK, I'll have to fly over on a marriage visitor visa and get married and then get kicked out and then return again. But then to return, I will need to apply for a proper spouse visa. And doing it in Taiwan is a lot easier because we could just go to a registration office and get married. And I could then use the marriage certificate to apply for the spouse visa.
When Ching and I were researching about this, we saw that your marriage ceremony got publicized. I mean, how did that happen and how do you feel about that?
The only reason why we publicized that was because we struggled to meet the financial requirement for a spouse visa. And a friend of mine is a writer, lyricist. He is very kind. He wants to help me with it. And part of the requirement to get a spouse visa for the UK is to prove the relationship is genuine. So with the age difference, we were thinking it would be an issue because the UK government's probably going to think, well, there's something fishy here because of the age difference. So what he did was he started to write our story on his Facebook page, and people started to read these things. And initially, of course, a lot of people were shocked, but later they started to feel, oh, actually they're not different. And so in the end, the writer friend Adam said, do you want a ceremony? I said, oh, I don't know. He said he thinks it's going to be interesting because people will come here and they'll all be well-wishers. Although I wasn't sure, Andy said, well, let's give it a go. And we did do it, and there were, I think, 500 people coming to give us their best wishes, and then loads of flowers, and not a single person was aggressive or terrible to us.
Yeah.
My friends came as well, but most people, I didn't even know who they were. It was quite nice to see people were accepting.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of them were actually a bit older, my dad's age. Which was very surprising to me because a lot of people from that generation will probably feel a bit reserved or negative about such a thing, but they were fine, and that was very encouraging.
So where did you guys decide to live after getting married, and why?
It was a very difficult one because I really wanted him to come to Taiwan. Yes, we would need to get him a visa, but the requirement wouldn't be so rigid, and it would just be a lot easier because my dad at the time said if he comes to live in Taiwan, we will have the whole family to support him or look after him if anything does happen to him medically. Also, I wasn't sure what I could do with an English degree in the UK, career-wise, because I was teaching in Taiwan at the time. I was working as a translator as well. But he wasn't very keen on the idea because he said he doesn't speak the language, and then he finds the weather a bit off-putting. He couldn't breathe properly in summer. Well, he comes to visit, he enjoys it, but he doesn't want to live here. My friends also said to me it would be a bit cruel to ask him to relocate at this age and start life afresh. And so I thought, okay, I will go to the UK, but then we were immediately faced with the visa problem, which did get sorted in the end, but it was still quite difficult.
If I can just retrace our conversation, you touched a little bit earlier that on the start of this relationship, you had concerns with the age. What's the gap that you guys have?
51 years?
Right. Like initially, what were your concerns with the age difference? And also now, being together, what is it like?
Well, First of all, age difference doesn't bother me because I do like guys older than me, or I should say a lot older than me. That's just my preference. But the only reason why I was and still am concerned about the age difference is I am scared of losing him because of his age, and I know that day will come. That's the only reason why I was not sure if I wanted to be with him, because I wasn't sure if I would be able to cope with bereavement at a tender age. But now I think I'm more capable of dealing with it if it happens. It's less of a worry for me now because we have a great time, and I think it's important to just seize the day really and spend time as much as we can.
Listening to what you just mentioned and also what you shared, both you and your partner have actually faced a lot of challenges in your relationship early on. I know a lot of people would have given up on the relationship just thinking of all these considerations. So what was for you the most difficult challenge to deal with, and what made you decide to stick this through?
Well, the biggest challenge is probably when we were talking about getting married. He said he didn't want to come to Taiwan. That really was a problem for me because I've got everything here, my family, my friends, my job and everything. So at the time I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do this. I got cold feet as well, but he promised me he would look after me because the first visa is only valid for 30 months. I said, let's try this for 30 months and then take stock when the visa expires. But then at the end of, just before my first visa expired, Andrew was diagnosed with cancer. So at the time I don't think I could then ask him to come back to Taiwan because it was just very cruel, and also if he did need treatment he wouldn't be able to get covered by the national insurance here. So I wasn't sure if he was going to work, so I extended my visa and I'm still there. But I will admit I'm sort of getting used to life in the UK. It's not so much of a challenge for me anymore. It still is in many ways. For example, it takes ages to see a doctor and things are always very slow. Trains never arrive or whatever. But it is quite interesting, and I think it's about being with a person or people you love really. For me now, that is more important or outweighs everything else.
I'm sure you have encountered a lot of people who judge you. What are the comments you hear? How do you respond?
When our story was publicized, my friends told me don't read any comments from news articles or whatever, or don't go on to PTT because you're going to see lots of nasty comments. So I didn't because I knew I would be upset, so I just didn't. And a lot of the things people accused me of doing this were mostly about money, but that wasn't true because if we had money we wouldn't even have publicized the story. We did this exactly because we didn't have enough money and we wanted to gain credibility for the relationship. And also people would say, oh, this person must want British citizenship. But that's also untrue because I wanted him to move to Taiwan rather than me wanting to move over there. Even now I have no intention of applying for it. Yeah, and people will say things like, generally really terrible comments about gay men or Taiwanese women. Oh, you're dating a Western guy. Why are you doing this? You're the shame of the country or whatever. Whereas if it's a straight man with a Western woman, they will say, oh, glory of Taiwan or whatever. And I was like, oh, why the double standards?
Yeah.
And I happened to fall in love with this person. I can't really help it. And so the best way to deal with this is just not to see it. I also got people sending me messages on Facebook, Messenger, saying really, really terrible things like, oh, you should go redeem yourself, go repent, what you do is morally wrong, you should go to hell, that sort of thing. And so, and some people even threatened to harm me physically. So I did have to go to the police station to report this, but nothing luckily happened. But in the meantime, I also got loads of nice messages from strangers. I'm quite happy about those nice ones.
Last question. For the single people out there looking for love and a life partner, or for people who are in relationships and are having to deal with the challenges that come with it, do you have any advice that you would like to give?
I think it's a bit of a cliche, really. Don't date for the sake of dating. Don't get into a relationship just because you want to, or just because, oh, I can. I think the most important thing is to think why you want a relationship with this person and be kind to each other. And if you see red flags, run.
Yeah, I think there are a lot more to talk about relationship, but I think that's all the time we have today. And Ethan, thank you for coming to our show, sharing your life and love story with us today. We hope to see you again here in Taiwan.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Ethan. We're very happy to have you.
Again, this is Ching En.
And Mary Ann. See you guys next Sunday. Bye.